welcome back to Call Sheet Confessions. If you are an avid reality TV watcher like myself or curious about the behind the scenes or an aspiring producer, this episode is for you. Today, my guest is a senior producer who's worked her way up across reality TV on some of the biggest shows like Hulu's Love Overboard, Vanderpump Villa, the Bachelor franchise, and RuPaul's Drag Race. I have Reina Hill on the podcast. Welcome, Reina.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you.
I was so flattered when I got your message. And I think this is amazing.
Thanks.
Hearing about your podcast and what you're trying to put out into the world and also shine light on for newly aspiring producers. I think it's wonderful. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we met on Let's Marry Harry.
Yes.
And that was a really fun experience. Being on location was beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it was Let's Marry Harry was a whirlwind, to say the least. But it was one of the first shows that, I know that our executives made a really strong stand on wanting it to film here in LA. And so it was exciting because a lot of things are filming elsewhere.
Yeah.
So having it here and being able to show off LA and film here was huge and a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Having production stay in LA or as many things as possible, having them film here.
We are slowly bringing all the shows back one show at a time.
Yes. So take me back. What were you like as a kid? Did you know you wanted to work in entertainment?
I did. I don't think I really had a name for what I wanted to do as a kid, but I loved anything about movies, anything about TV, really.
Yeah.
I was an avid Oprah fan from 3 years old, sitting down and watching talk television, but loved Oprah. Loved performing. I danced as a kid and did little musicals here and there. And then I remember being 5 or 6 and my godmother at the time would always be like, what do you want to be or what do you want for your birthday? And I would say, I want an agent. I had no idea what an agent was or what they did, but I associated that to television. And I used to tell everybody that that's what I wanted for my birthday. And when I grew up, I wanted to be Oprah. My mom would be like, that's not a real job. I'm like, yes. It is. So always knew I wanted to do something in the entertainment industry and kind of just kept that little ember in my core and ran with it.
I love that. And it also shows how passionate you were that for your birthday you were asking for something that had to do with your career. Because I would do the same thing. I would ask can I have a ballet bar or a tap board so I could practice at home? It was always things related because when you're really passionate, your work is your life's
exactly.
work,
And listen, I had no idea what I was asking for, but I knew that it was a key somewhere. And so all I have to say is listen to kids. About their passions.
Yeah, definitely. So you knew you had an interest in it, and then you went to school in Missouri.
Yes.
What did you study there?
Okay, so I went to Missouri State University. Go Bears. So I started off as a film major, and that was, all of your gen ed classes, your general intro film classes, and I really loved that. And so I learned a lot about, film from the past and learning about our predecessors and the techniques and kind of the storytelling that they were doing. And I loved that part. So even before going to college, I used to watch all these types of films, but then always watch the behind the scenes and the casting videos and the interviews with the actors, because I learned as I had more and more schooling, but I loved the art of storytelling and finding out what makes people tick and the behind the scenes scoop. I loved hearing all of that stuff, but that's what really made me want to go into it. So I started off as a film major, and then my mother, I think it was my sophomore, junior year, because my big thing is I wanted to go into casting. That's what I always said. Because, again, I loved the art of storytelling and finding out what made people tick and what drove their passions. And so, the human story was always, the big thing that attracted me. But I wanted to go into casting. And there, my mom was like, you're not going to get a job in casting in Missouri, so we got to change this major. So I begrudgingly switched my major to PR and started taking classes, hated it, and was like, I will absolutely not be doing anything in PR. But always I still had a film minor at that point.
Okay.
So
you were still taking those classes.
exactly. And I still had like all of my friends from like my early classes. And so
Yeah.
I made sure I helped them with like their senior projects and like still got to work hand in hand, but didn't come out with the film major, but still came out with the film minor. But yeah, that, and then from there, I like did a lot of my friends' senior films in college and like helped with that. And then there was this really weird, like, I think my senior year, I started reaching out to a bunch of casting agents.
Got it.
Like, I would literally go to IMDb, look at the credits on there, find people's names,
yeah,
Google them, find their email, and just like email them, be like, I want to do this, and
and cold pitch yourself.
Yeah. And then eventually I got an email back from one lady who said that she had a casting call that was going to be in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is like this really small town, like southern. It's like in the Boot Heel area, which is like the very tip of Missouri, so like deep in there. But at the time, I think it was Jennifer Lawrence. I want to say Winter's Bones, but that's not it. But Jennifer Lawrence, it was her breakout film, but they shot that in Cape Girardeau. So there was a little film industry there, but I got to go and help her cast a commercial. And that was when I first got like any taste of what this was. And like, I remember one of my best friends at the time, she drove with me down there and we stayed in a hotel and I got to work on my first commercial and casting.
That's awesome.
So I got a little taste like that. And then, that's kind of how I got started. After that, I graduated, saved up a bunch of money, and like told everyone I was going to move out to LA. And, like, no one really believed me, but I was like hell bent on doing it, and so I was like, no, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do it. And so literally, after my roommate, who was also my cousin, after he graduated, we packed up the car and just drove out before we could get too scared to do it.
Wow. So you drove all the way here together.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
We literally packed up and we had to do it because, like, moving across the country is a huge step. And, like, before we could chicken out, we, like, just did it. And, like, that was, like, one of the, like, leap of faith of, like, we're going to do this. And then within, like, a week, we were packed up and we're on our way.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it just shows like your initiative, one, with the cold pitching, and then like, I'm doing this and I'm going to make it happen, and moving out to LA.
Yes, I would say for anybody, I think like when you have, if there's something that you want to do, trust your gut, and also just like be headstrong, be brave in those moments. And it's harder said than done. Right. But that is something that I am proud of younger Reina for just doing it. Because now looking back and being like, I can't believe I just had blind faith that this was going to work out. Like, we had no place to live. We knew I had 2 friends that were out here. And eventually I found that I had a lot more friends from school that were out. But like, we had 2 friends and we slept on their couch and came out here with no job and no place to live and just kind of figured it out.
Yeah. Hey, they say successful people have to be a little delusional, you know, because you're betting on yourself when people around you might not see the vision. You're betting on this vision that only you can see, you know.
Delulu is the perfect word for that. But yes, you have to have a little bit of that.
Right.
Yeah, in anything.
Absolutely. So when you first came out to LA, what was then your next step of how you were going to get into this industry?
So my next step, I didn't have a clue. Honestly, I didn't really know where to start. And so a lot of it was we would go to the Starbucks at the farmer's market and like the OG farmer's market, the one like that's connected to the Grove. But we would go to that Starbucks. And I'd sit there and I would just be on IMDb and literally be looking up people's like emails and just emailing, trying to find a job anywhere. And then I think I joined a bunch of Facebook groups. So that is a big tip. Like, Facebook is a little outdated these days, but I will say a big tool are their groups that they have. So there's like Women in LA, Women in Film, like all of those groups. Like I just joined all of them and was like messaging like, I am new to LA. I'm a PA. I would love any experience that you guys could give me. But I ended up getting my first job from a friend from high school who I didn't even know lived out in LA, but she saw me post on Facebook that I'd made the move. And she was like, I'm just a PA myself, but send me your resume and if I hear anything. And then she had a boss that knew someone that needed a random PA for one day.
Wow.
And so they sent my resume, which was literally like school credits and like hobbies that I liked and like stuff like that. So the bare minimum. But then I got called, and my first job as a PA was to pick up talent from LAX and take them to a hotel, and that was my entire job for that day.
Okay.
But yeah, that's how I got my start. Kind of, I got lucky, and so I was like in LA for about 2 weeks, and so
before getting that job.
before
Okay,
getting that
that's
job.
pretty
So
great.
it was
Yeah.
it was a quick turnaround. I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, that was my very first intro to LA.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then from there, did that same person rehire you on things, or did you meet people on that led to other work opportunities?
Yeah, so that first day, again, I was picking up talent and from LAX to take him to the hotel, but I was super excited and I like did that for my full first 12 hours of work. And then I remember talking to my boss after, and like he didn't know me, I didn't know him, but I was like, no, I want, like, if you have anything else, I would love to do it. And he's like, well, I like, your work ethic and like your spirit that you've already brought. So like, would you want to join us on set? And right there, he asked if I wanted to extend my day gig to a season gig, and I started. My technical term from there, I was a talent handler or a talent wrangler. So, but I also had no idea. I literally was given this job, and so the job itself was technically the first gay Bachelor. It was called Finding Prince Charming. It was a series on Logo at the time, which I don't think is a network anymore. But I was put in a house with 14 men and was kind of told, all right, keep them alive, keep them put together. We'll have a schedule, and your whole job is just like a glorified babysitter, basically. But it was like to wake them up, to make sure that they were ready to film, to make sure they were ready to like leave the house when we were doing stuff. But it was a lot of learning on the fly. Like I had no idea what I was doing, and even like I'd never been on a set before, and like. And this is a house reality show in itself. So there are cameras everywhere. There's, Pelco or RoboCams everywhere. And I boned many a shots. And I was definitely like walking around like a blind mice, like around. But I slowly learned and like asked a bunch of questions. But yeah, that was my first show ever.
Wow.
Finding Prince Charming.
Yeah, and then you're like fresh out of college, taking care of these adult
men.
You know what I mean?
I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, but like you said, asking questions and being alert and learning on the spot. Like I think, you can try to be as prepared as possible, but the real learning comes from putting yourself right into the mix and figuring it out.
Absolutely. I would say one thing that I know that I did, and this was something I told myself that I was going to do at every set I was on, I made a friend. And that is huge. Like, it is, the world today is a lot about networking, and all of the jobs I've gotten, it's been because I had a friend or knew someone on the crew who I told them I had interest in what I wanted to do, and being very vocal about that, and being open to work and not ever saying no. And the whole first year I was in LA, I didn't say no to any job. Even if it was crazy hours or, working on the weekends, I like really told myself I was going to grind that first year, and I did. But it was a lot about being interested in what, I was working on and what I was doing, and asking people questions and just like chatting. Like getting to know people on your crew is going to be like the biggest tool for anyone coming right out. But
I love what you said about like making a friend on every set. Anytime I go into a dance class or a networking event or anything, I'm like, I got to get one point of contact. Like, because if I really enjoyed speaking with a person, I want to make sure I can follow up or see them again or have that line of communication, because if I had a great conversation with someone, I never see them again, then it's like, oh, dang, I should have like gotten that point of contact. So I think that's such a like good advice, because it can lead to job opportunities, but even just making like good connections and friends and meeting people is such an important part of building your community when you first move to Los Angeles.
100%. And even if it's not like in the scope of, oh, you're looking for another job, but knowing someone's name on set is just a huge thing. So I know like being able to call someone, oh, I need your help with this, like, but you have to start with talking to people and like knowing them. So that's like just a huge push of like getting to know the people you're working with is going to be like the biggest thing you can do starting out in any job in any career.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. And so you were a talent wrangler for a while. How did then you move into producing?
So I, yes, like you were saying, I was a talent wrangler, talent handler for a while. And a big step of that was when I was on set. First of all, you should know what you're filming and, like, kind of, like, what you're doing. So, like, be inquisitive about what's going on day to day, and, like, where you kind of fit into that equation, and trying to be helpful in that. So, I would read the call sheet and see what you're doing, and then, like, it's kind of like picking up on, okay, so, like, the schedule of the day is, oh, we are going to do an all crew meeting, and it's gonna, like, give you the order of operations that we're going in. So, like, kind of being able to anticipate. So in my job as a Wrangler handler was anticipating what the cast was going to need to be doing before they were asked to do it. So it's like, okay, I know the cast is going to go out on a big outing, so I'm going to make sure I have all of their touch-up bags and, like, toiletries and, like, water bottles already in the van waiting, so it's not something that we're waiting on the talent team to do.
Yeah, so kind of like doing things before being asked to do them.
Yeah, and like also kind of giving yourself a job and, like, taking that off of someone else. So that's a huge thing of, like, even as a PA, it's knowing, like, oh, we do this one thing every single day, so I'm just going to do it before my coordinator or the production manager has to ask for it. And it just, like, helps like, alleviate a little stress on the people above you. And so that is, like, a huge thing of just, I think, trying to, as a PA or as someone coming in as a handler or Wrangler or wherever, it is, I would say, try to learn the show that you're working on and just take it, like, okay, I'm trying to think of how to say this, but it's understanding the inner workings of, like, the show and, like, the crew and, like, what you're kind of doing. But I guess going back to showing a little bit of initiative, but ultimately trying to, you have your regular jobs that you do, but then trying to figure out where you can be helpful beyond that.
Because I think as a PA, it could be easy just to, all right, I'm going to do the trash sweeps, I'm going to do this, and not really even understand the show that you're working on. You're just, doing those tasks and kind of separated from everything going on. So I think that's great advice that if you're wanting to do this for real and you want to move up and you want to learn as much as possible and take advantage of being there, then really get familiar with the show and how it's the order of operations and how it's being filmed and familiarizing yourself with that, because then I think it makes you stand out too when you're anticipating needs, especially of the people above you, and making their lives easier,
Totally. And also not being afraid to, if someone does need help with something and you don't know, be like, oh, I'm down to do it, teach me how, or, like, I can do this but I don't know, or this is my first time, like, being vocal of, like, being one, I want to help but I might not know how. And so that, even that is showing initiative of what you want to do. And I will say, sorry, to go back to your question of how I went from being a handler to producing, is also not being afraid to ask for it. So I was a handler on many different things, and I worked at Drag Race for a really long time and, like, loved that. And I also worked at The Bachelor for the long time. So after on Finding Prince Charming, I met someone who got me a job on RuPaul's Drag Race. Okay. And then an audio woman, her name was Wednesday. She was lovely, but she was actually on the set of Drag Race, was like, I work on The Bachelor. I could probably get you on as a PA. Would you ever want to do that? And I was like, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. And so she was the one who got me a PA job, and, like, she wasn't even in my department. She was audio. So, like, going again with, making friends on set and, like, talking to people. Yeah. But it was something that, that was my intro into going into the world of talent. But then from there is I did all of these shows. And I remember I chatted with Peter Geist, who was one of the co-EPs of The Bachelor at the time. And he was super in my lane and, like, was always a helpful sounding board if, like, I didn't know what we were doing, and, like, asking him questions. But also, like, I remember, having to really swallow my pride, and I asked him if he wanted to get coffee one day. And I was like, listen, I have a real interest in producing and I want to move up. Can you help me? Or, like, what should I be doing here? And he kind of laid it out, and he was like, okay, well, if this is something you're serious about, we can make this happen, but you also are going to have to choose what show you want to do. And so, like, I had to choose between Drag Race at the time or The Bachelor. And so I said, okay, I'm going to come over full time. And I chose The Bachelor, and then did a few more seasons as a handler, but, like, with that little seed in his mind that I wanted to move up from there. Right. And then, went and interviewed, and it we'll leave it there. Went, interviewed, and then it kind of just took off from there. And
Who was your interview with? One person, multiple people?
so it was a little bit different. So
Yeah.
in the world of producing, there are cast producers or story producers that work obviously heavily with the cast, but there's also like a date challenge field team. So I kind of knew both worlds. I had worked heavily with the cast and with talent,
Yeah.
and so that was a lane that I was super into and like interested in. And again, going back to my first love of like casting and like what makes
Right.
people tick and like finding out their stories. So like there was a huge pull there. But then on the adverse side, I'm a very creative person and love thinking of
Yeah.
ideas and like, dates that we can do and things like that. And so the date team and field team challenge, that sector is kind of more of that. So for my interview, I sat down and it was kind of a 2-on-1 interview. So I had a co-EP from the cast side and a co-EP from the date side, and they were
Okay.
rapid firing questions at me. And they kind of, after that, I told them like I'm down to go either side, and they ultimately made the decision of I was going to be hired on date team.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how that went. But I think that was not the normal process of how many shows work. But for that specific example, that was how I kind of got put on the date team and started down that path.
Yeah, I think it's so great that you took that initiative to set up that coffee and pick someone's brain, because I think people can be scared to do that or don't want to, rub anyone the wrong way or anything. But to, like you said, vocalizing what you want to do and speaking to people, and like you just throughout your story so far, just so much initiative that you've shown, and really being clear on what you want to do as well. Because I think a lot of people can be like, well, I could see myself doing this and doing this, and you could take that time to figure it out. But then when you knew this is what I want to do, and you were like, all right, I'll do a few more years, but I've planned it in his head, and just aiming towards that goal.
Yeah, I think all to say, yes, I absolutely knew I wanted to move up and go in that world, but I also was asking questions like, I would, go and talk to the camera guys and like be like, so what are we doing here? Like audio, and like ask them a little bit about their jobs too. And I think
learning everything.
Yeah, learning a little bit of everything, and then kind of not being afraid to a big thing, especially when you're a PA, is you don't want to be in the way. You don't want to be annoying and be that and asking questions. But there is this thing that like, be curious, be open to like hear how the camera guy became an AC and then became a cam op, and then the audio was an A2, a mixer, and then how they moved into that space too. I think being something that also makes you a great teammate and great producer is understanding a crew 360.
Yeah.
But that was something that I didn't know I was picking up on, little things like that. Until I got a little bit older, but then was like, oh, this was actually really useful because I know what all these things do, and I know how they work to go into making a show and stuff like that.
Yeah, you understand all the moving parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
So now as a producer, what does a day in your life look like? What's on your call sheet?
What's on my call sheet? Okay, well, it kind of... starting from the beginning, so usually, so I am a creative producer. I work on the date team or like the field team. So it's planning everything outside of where the cast is. So like, say for the Bachelor, in essence, it's a house reality show. So everything is happening within the house. So my team, whatever you saw that wasn't inside the house, was everything our team did. So we are planning all the creative. So we'll usually start before the rest of the crew does. And we will start with brainstorming ideas. How do we make this season different than previous seasons? Or even if it's like a season 1 show, you were kind of molding how the show will work and how it will look and all that stuff. So we do a lot of brainstorming. We do a lot of outreach and like looking at like what's going on in the ether and what like makes things interesting and all that stuff. And then we start with an idea. And so it is, we are going to Send someone on a helicopter to Disneyland, and then at 9 p.m. the fireworks are gonna go off, and then they're gonna kiss. So even starting from there, it's like, okay, starting step one, how the heck do we get a helicopter here? So it's like
the logistics of all
the
of
logistics of all of it. So it's figuring out the inner workings of all of that stuff, and like getting the helicopter arranged, and then working with the Disney team, and like doing a lot of outreach. So my day to day, it's very logistical at the beginning, but then it goes from, having everything on paper. And if we are doing our job right, we are taking that and then making it come to life, and to what you see on screen. So I guess to go back, so what my day to day, what's on my call sheet, a brainstorming session to kick things off. And then there's also a big thing of pitching. So we go in, and so once my team brainstorms ideas, we will toss some things around. If they feel good, we'll then take that to our co-EP or supervising producer, whoever you're working with, and then we will pitch to them. And then we will finesse and tweak and, sharpen things up. And from there, you will then pitch to your execs. And then it'll be another round of that. You're pitching, your grand idea. And then from there, they take that to the network. And then if it's a green light, then you kind of keep ticking boxes off from there and keep figuring things out.
It's so fun that it starts with, these creative ideas and just throwing things out there and seeing what works, and then handling the logistics of it all,
Yes.
But it's kind of fun, especially with like these dates that you're planning. You're like, I could put my dream date in here.
No, 100%. It's like that. I remember like having like a big kind of aha moment of my first season truly producing was at the Bachelor. It was it was the Claire Tayshia season and the bubbles and stuff, but we were working on, I don't even remember the specific date, but it was my first date that I really did. So it was like, you think back and it's like, oh, we were choosing jersey colors, and we were choosing like who's gonna host it, and like we write the scripts, we do everything like that. And then seeing it come to life, and you're like, this was literally an idea on a piece of paper, and now we have spent $500,000, and now it's in front of your face, and you're like, oh my God. And then even past that, then it goes to when it airs on TV, and then you see something that you took from paper, you made into real life, and then you're seeing it on screen, and that's always
gonna be a good feeling.
Yes, definitely.
So besides The Bachelor, you've worked on Hulu's Love Overboard, which filmed on a boat.
Yes.
And then you also worked on Vanderpump Villa, which was filming in England.
Yes.
So what was the biggest difference filming something like on a boat and something internationally?
Well, they are totally, totally different. Working on a boat is, okay, Love Overboard was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was in Malta. We filmed on this yacht called the Chakra, and so even with that,
I love that.
It is the Chakra.
Yeah.
But that is logistically very challenging.
I
mean, the cast lives on a floating vessel, and it is in. So the cast lives on the boat, the crew lived on land. So every day you are having to get onto a small water taxi, so a boat that would then drive you into the sea, and then you would get off of that, go and film on this boat, and everything is shaking. Like it is, it's challenging, and also water is challenging, and figuring out where we're gonna dock and all of that stuff. They're very different things, and then so that was a doozy in itself. And also, I should mention, Love Overboard was a season 1 show. So
it's the first
that comes with a lot of challenges, too, because you have something like, Vanderpump Villa that's happened before. And so there's a formula that already exists that you're kind of just, like, staying along with, the order of operations. But with Love Overboard, it was a great opportunity because it's a season 1, but it is up to us to craft the entire show. Like everything you're seeing has never happened before. And so it's like, oh, well, if someone can't make a choice and doesn't want to plank someone, what do you do then? And like
that was the 40 minutes.
Yes.
And
crazy. Listen, that was we're all experiencing that at the same time. So like we're sitting there and we're like looking at our watches, and you're like, what's going to happen? David has to choose somebody.
Right.
Like, when is he going to do it? And like we're all sitting there like, and not to go off on a little side tangent, but that show in itself was a huge beast. But with what you don't think about is David is holding for 40 minutes, really searching his soul to choose who he wants to. We have underwater scuba camera operators who only have so much oxygen in their tank, and it was supposed to be a very quick splash. And so we're having to be like, can the people underwater breathe right now? Like, are we going to have to switch those out? Like, we have cameras on other boats that are floating, that are like on other vessels, all filming at our main boat. So like, that was a big learning curve for a lot of different things like that. But so all to say is, with that, you have a lot of things that are like unexpected, that you're really just rolling with the punches and like figuring out on the fly.
That's really interesting to think about, because I was feeling so bad for the two contestants standing there. I'm like, they're probably cold. They're like, oh my God, one of us is going to get dropped. We're standing here for 40 minutes. Like,
and we're losing light. Like, with something like that, it's like, it's outside. So once the sun is down, it's pitch black. You can't light the ocean. Like,
but then to think about all the other things, the people with their oxygen tanks, like, that's so scary. You're like, well, what are we going to do?
Exactly, because you want to get this shot too. And so, like, it's a scramble of that sorts. But then you have, on the other side, you have Vanderpump Villa. That was in this beautiful countryside of London. It was this little town called Milton Keynes. Not many people have heard of it. I've never heard of it. But that show is also very different, because you're tracking all of these, you're tracking the cast in this environment, that they're like putting on this luxury hotel stay type thing. But then you have the added, it is a mix of all of like the biggest reality shows too. So you have all these other casts coming in, and weirdly enough, I had worked with, 3 of the groups of cast that were on there. So we had a Bachelor group that came in. We had drag race queens that came in, and then we had the Love Overboard girl. So it was a weird thing of like working so closely with those shows, but I'm working on a separate show, but I know all the people coming in, and like,
it was fun. It's like going down memory lane.
It really was. It was like a little reunion. It was seeing people that I hadn't seen or worked with, and like some of the queens that were there were on my very first season that I worked with on Drag Race. And so it was like a very 360 moment of like, I was taking care of these queens as like their handler, and now I'm producing them on this separate show in a completely different country. And
how cool.
It was. But different feel shows, but both very fun though.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to get into some fun little segments. We're going to do some hot takes in Hollywood. It's like a quick this or that.
Yeah.
All right?
I'm excited. Okay.
Pre-production or being on set?
Being on set.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. There is
absolutely.
We call it a show day buzz of like the very first day of filming any show. Like, there's this buzz, everyone's really excited, and so that's something that I feel like athletes get, or someone who's like in a high energy type of career. But like, there's definitely a buzz of being on set and like knowing that we're about to film something great, hopefully.
Yeah, it's like game day, or like 100%. As a dancer, like performing on stage. That, I think it's that type of same feeling.
100%.
Yeah. Reality TV or scripted?
In my opinion, okay, this is hard.
I know.
It is hard because I did do a few PA days on some scripted shows, and like, got a chance to work on a feature, and like those, it's just a lot different.
Right.
So I would say reality, only because it keeps you on your toes a little bit more. And quite literally anything could happen. You're chasing reality.
Right, right. Live TV or pre-taped?
That's also a great question. I did the Golden Bachelor, the wedding special live, and that is it's kind of like your Super Bowl too, because it's like, we have one chance to do this, and you have to do it perfectly that one time, because obviously it's live. But then once you finished, the energy of being like, we all just did this thing is also like unmatched. So I would say live television is it's fun.
Travel jobs or staying in LA?
So this is the kicker. I have been very blessed, and I have been all over the world on shows. Yeah. And so there is something that like, I am very appreciative of the jobs that I get that take me like, what I'm leaving in 3 days to go to Thailand for 6 weeks on a show. Wow. And so like these are places that I probably would have not never been able to go to on my own, but definitely I've gotten to see some of the most beautiful places on someone else's dime.
Yeah.
So, for the traveler in me, going places abroad and shooting elsewhere, but also there is a heart and soul of the city of LA that, like, you know, when you're on the back lots of these like historic sound stages, like it is special too, and like there is a very unique feeling there. So can I say both? Can I cheat and say both?
I think you can.
Okay.
Because that's very beautifully said. And I see both sides. Like the dream, getting paid to travel and do something you love to do and also get to explore the world. You can't beat that. But also I totally get what you're saying. Even going to like studio tours and seeing and being on these like iconic and historic places where so many incredible films have been made, and then getting to step there. Like there's also magic in that too.
Truly. I remember I was filming on like the back lot of Warner Brothers, and like it was something that we were, you know, everyone has the golf carts and stuff that you see on TV, and then like we like drove down what is it, Stars Hollow for Gilmore Girls, and like
I'm a huge Gilmore Girls
fan. It's little things like that where you like stop and you look around and you're like, oh my, like some of the most iconic things that were filmed in this one city. And like you will find places all over where you like you realize how historic the city of LA is, and so there's just there's something about that you can never get, you know, get over. It's great.
Warner Brothers does like a day, it's like a holiday days made here, something like that, and they do a whole Gilmore Girls event where they set it up like Stars Hollow again, and they do trivia and all these things. And I went last December, and it was unbelievable.
That sounds so fun.
It was so much fun, and the trivia. I knew this show. But trivia was hard. But yeah, getting to like see like this is where this was filmed and be there was so cool. And Abbott Elementary like films there, which is another favorite show of mine as a Philly girl. And
so good.
Yeah, it's definitely
shout out to Quinta
special.
For that show. It's brilliant.
Yes,
absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely. All right, a few more. Early call time or late night shoots?
Oh, okay. All you future producers out there, you're going to be doing both. You will be the first person on set, and you will often be the last. But I would say late night. There's something about like the witching hour when like everybody is still awake and you're like still making TV. There's like a delirious fun about it. So I'm more of a night owl than an early morning. I need a lot of coffee to get me going in the morning.
Me as well. It doesn't matter if I get 8 hours. It's still hard for me to wake up in the morning.
There's a certain time that it physically hurts.
Yes.
That it physically hurts to get out of bed. And like also, you know, there are in TV and in PAing, no matter what, there's a shift. So like there's an AM shift, there's a mid, and then there's a late night. And so just depending on what straw you pull it, you're gonna get one of the three.
Right. Yeah. You're gonna end up doing
all of it sometime.
I think I did like a 3 to 3 on Let's Marry Harry, like 3:53 a.m. But I kind of like I'm a night owl as well, so I was like, kind of don't mind this. I get my whole day, and then I'm just like working at night.
Exactly.
But then I did like the 5 to 5, and I was like, okay, so I did this, but now my whole night's free. So it's kind of pros and cons to both.
Yes. And on some reality shows, I feel like it sometimes sucks to have to stay later and like be those super late, but also that's when all the shenanigans happen. Like in the morning, like when you're the early shift, like everybody's sleepy, the day's just getting going, so like there's not a lot of drama. And so like if you're there for the story and if you're there for the drama, the night shift is truly where all the shenanigans
especially
happen.
with reality.
Yes, that's the witching hour. I'm telling you, it's crazy for the cast, the crew, for everybody.
Yeah, it's so true. Vanderpump Villa or The Bachelor?
Ooh. I will say The Bachelor.
Yeah.
But because it's super cheesy, but like traveling around the world and like traveling and filming with the crew, like it was 100% one of the most exceptional crews I've ever worked with. Like everyone is so talented. And you know, you learn that after a lot of us left The Bachelor last year. And so looking back on the years I did spend there, like going and doing other shows, like you see how special it was. And like to have the team that we did, and they top notch. So I would say The Bachelor only because I'm biased, but the entire crew is so talented. So I would travel the world and back with those people.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And so we talked off camera a little bit about the show Unreal on Netflix, right? Me and my friends have watched this. I'm sure anyone that wants to work in reality TV has watched it. What is your opinion on that show and the realities of working on The Bachelor?
It definitely, I watched The Bachelor, I watched Unreal.
Yeah.
Like a few days before I did my first PA day.
Oh, wow.
So like, I remember watching it and being like, oh my God, like, is this what I'm about to walk into?
Right.
And obviously everyone, it is a dramatization. It is,
Yeah.
it's not how it really is.
Right.
There are some parallels of just that era of TV. And like I was saying, early 2000s reality TV was the wild, wild west. Like, and I feel like we as an industry have learned a lot and have, you know, changed just how we do things. But there are definitely, I mean, there are parallels in any show, but it's definitely a crazy thing to walk into and see, like, oh, well, like, all of the inner workings of this are kind of similar to this show, but what am I stepping into here? But
yeah, especially watching it.
Yes.
Before. But that makes sense. Yeah, with anything for TV, you gotta up the stakes.
Up the ante a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now we're gonna get into some fact or fiction.
Okay.
So we're gonna bust some myths about the industry.
Okay, ready. So
the first one is that producers script everything in reality TV.
That is false. So earlier I did say that, you know, my job in particular, we do write the scripts. But when I say a script, it's more of like the beats of how we want the date or activity to go.
Right.
I know a lot of people think that reality TV is heavily scripted, and not to say that some shows don't lean more into that. However, it is, if I do my job right in any scenario, everything that I'm doing is very well planned.
Yeah.
And so we are scripting out, okay, we want the dolphins to jump here, we want the fireworks to go off then, and it's all very well planned out.
Right.
But when the cast walks onto set, if we've done our job right, they are just experiencing the thing we put together. And so it is new to them. We aren't telling them what to say. We aren't telling them what to do. Is if I've done my job correctly, they are walking into the world that I've built, and it is going off without a hitch.
Yeah.
So it is very well planned, but not 100% scripted.
Which makes sense. Like, you have kind of a workflow of this is what's going to happen, but you're not, like, what the cast does is what the cast does,
100%.
You know? And I think a good example of that was David. You didn't expect him to take 40 minutes to answer.
Exactly.
He wasn't told to do that. He just did that. So you can have all these things lined up, but at the end of the day, what the cast members do is...
You're following reality at the end of the day. And that also is what makes, you know, unscripted reality television fun, is that you are following the story of what's happening, and like it's always new, and it's not predictable what's going to happen. And so but yeah. Once
you make it to producer level, the work becomes more stable.
Yes, and a little bit. You're always kind of going to be a freelancer in a sense. Like I am still doing new shows all the time and like jumping in. So you're still trying to figure out your day to day, like, but in like a few months chunk of time, if that makes sense.
Right.
There are other shows that, you know, once you're on, like, it's a very seasoned show and you kind of just keep rolling into it. Like, the Bachelor franchise, you know, there were 4 shows a year. So we were always busy, and it was very, very stable.
Right.
Which is also why as many people stay, is because you don't have to be, you know, hustling for a new show. But
because after those months of filming this version of The Bachelor, then Golden Bachelor,
exactly, and then, you literally you roll right into the next thing.
Right.
But as a true freelance producer, it's stable in the sense that you now know a little bit more how to balance it. Like, you know, there's going to be a section of prep that's going to happen. That's going to be, you know, 6 to 8 weeks if you're lucky, maybe shorter, and then you're going on to film it, and then you roll into post after that. So it's still a little chaotic, but a little bit more structured, just depending.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to get into Crafty Corner.
Okay.
So, what does your ideal Crafty look like? If you got to, pick all the snacks at Crafty, what's on the table?
Okay, that is a dangerous. Everyone does you like mule over the Crafty table. It's where everybody comes and does their little laps.
Yeah.
If I could have one thing at Crafty, I need definitely good coffee.
Absolutely.
So a machine of some sort. I'm not even picky, so I need definitely coffee with creamer. I need every good Crafty has the donut table, and so that is something you need. And then I don't know, like Pop-Tarts. Like I don't eat Pop-Tarts ever, but if they're on a Crafty table, I will probably pick one up and grab it. But yeah, and then all the little candies and all that stuff. It's dangerous. It is dangerous.
It's
table.
like Halloween. Yeah.
But most important, I need coffee. Just make sure there's like hot coffee, and 90% of the crew is going to be happy.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to get into industry icks and your industry betrayal list. So, Reina, what is your biggest ick about this industry?
Industry ick. Not wanting to pay people meal penalties. So
Ah.
that kind of goes into when I was going to say the extra $200 to keep someone. But it's like, just break. Nothing is that serious. Is let everyone can sit at 6 hours. It's not that big of a deal, and just like making sure that there are breaks for everybody. Which there are in a lot of senses of there are unions that have that now, but there's also a lot of reality television that doesn't have a union. So like, meal penalties and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, making sure people have breaks, and if they end up not because they're working through it or whatever, that meal penalty is rightfully deserved.
Exactly, and giving them a little something at least.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So, you are on Call Sheet Confessions.
Yes.
Reina, what is your Call Sheet confession?
Ooh, okay. My Call Sheet confession I feel like it is deserved by every PA out there. So at the end of a filming, there is usually a big clean out. And I think that PAs deserve the first taking of any extra crafty, any decor from the show. The PAs put in the most thankless job sometime. And I think they should have the first dibs at a lot of that stuff.
I love that. As part of PA Nation. But from Let's Marry Harry, so many outfits I have from wardrobe. I have a lamp.
Listen.
I was moving to an apartment. I was like, great, I'm going to take this.
That is the gift that keeps on giving. There are definitely the set deck on shows and all that stuff. When at the end of a season, they will usually set up tables and stuff with just extra stuff. And being able to take that stuff, I'm like, okay. This is worth it. This is good, but that is a huge perk. Yes.
It definitely is a huge perk. It's like thrifting. It's like so fun. But it's also a little keepsake from the show you worked on. Like someone asks where you got it, you know that you got it from the show you worked on. And it's a little, like you said, like being a PA can be kind of a thankless job sometimes. And it's kind of nice to be able to be like, all right, well, at least I got this.
Exactly. And you guys everybody deserves it.
Yeah. It's a fun part about being on set for sure. So, in another life, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
That is a really good question. Honestly, in another life, I would be the owner of Oprah's garden. I would literally be an old lady with her basket, just in a garden, milling about, sitting in the grass. I think I'd do that. Which is not a very good answer, but it's I think it'd be that simple.
That's fun.
I'd be Oprah in her garden, just frolicking through her tomato plants.
Yes, that's so funny.
That's what I do.
Yes, and if you were starting over, or for aspiring producers out there, or people that are PAs right now that really want to work their way up and become a producer, what's your biggest advice for them, and what pathway could they follow? My biggest advice would truly be make a friend on every set you are. I think in today's world especially, human connection's kind of lacking in a lot of spaces. We're very much on our phones and on any type of technology. And so
at the end of the day, the thing that's going to get you further in this industry is knowing people and having friends and people that you trust, and like knowing that, I don't know, that at the end it's all about the people.
Yeah.
So I would say that, like, just like harvest those connections, and also like the people you're PAs with are your homies, and like having a close, even if you're not like hanging out after work, but like being friends with the people you're working with are going to make your experience a lot bigger.
Right.
So not only make a friend on every set, but also like hang out and be like friendly with the people you're working with, because that's also going to make your day-to-day like a lot better and make you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking to everyone on set, whether it's the Teamsters, whether it's the PAs, like I love making conversation, because like you said, it makes your experience better, it makes their experience better, and you never know what you'll learn from it, or friends that will come out of it, or later someone might have a job for you, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to need help and who's going to call your name at the end of it. Yeah.
Well, Reina, thank you so much for coming on Call She Confessions.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. I wish there was longer to chat. I feel like
Me
I was
too.
rambling, but no, this is amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I know. I feel like maybe we'll have to do a part 2 at some point.
Please, we gotta get into the deep cuts of some things. I have a lot more shenanigans to tell, but this was so fun.
That I would love to unpack those. Yes. But yes, thank you so much. I feel like your story is so inspiring, and like so many people that want to do this, like hearing how you were able to do it. You packed up your stuff, you moved here, you cold pitched yourself, you took initiative, you spoke up, you made friends, you made, like, I think those are really, like, that's a lot of tangible steps that people could learn from and take to, you know, hopefully get to a place like you are.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And that one big thing, it's just, I would also tell like anyone coming into this industry who's moving to LA or who's working within the film and television industry, is take a chance on yourself. Be brave. It's scary. Everyone's just figuring it out. Any person I've ever worked with or any boss is also just figuring it out. So, take a chance on yourself. It'll pay off.
Absolutely. The best investment you can make is in yourself.
Say it again for the people in back.
Yes. Well, tell the people where we can follow you, where we can find you, what's next for you.
Yes. Well, I am, like I was saying, I am 3 days away from going to Temptation Island to go to Thailand to go film Temptation Island season 3. You can find me on Instagram at Reina Hill. You can also find me on TikTok. I don't do much Ticker talk, but I'm on there. So if you are interested in what I'm reposting, but yeah. That's where I'm at.
I can't wait to watch. I love Temptation Island. It's so cool getting to like sit across from you and hear from you, because these shows are shows I love, and getting to meet the face behind a lot of them is so cool.
Well, I appreciate that. You will have to report back on what you think too.
I will. I absolutely
I want to hear what you think.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, thank you all so much for watching this episode of Call She Confessions. Remember to always work hard and chase the dream, because if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. May your call times be reasonable and your checks be on time. And like my Mimi always says, break a leg, but not really. We'll see you next time. Bye.